Selling lies and buying time, killing people next in line. Lower classes, social slime, they don't matter. Genocide, sick from water, sick from air. Making money, they don't care. Caesar shit, force of air. Fuck them back, it's only for they war. They shoot, they kill, they massacre, rape. They burn the kids, no one makes countries. Lie to your face, fight and die, 'cause God forgives. Selling lies and buying time, killing people next in line. Lower classes, social slide, they don't matter. Genocide, sick from water, sick from air. Making money, they don't care. See their shit, force a bear. Fuck them back, that's only fair. They bomb, they shoot, they kill, they massacre, rape. They burn the kids, no one makes countries. Lie to your face, fight and die, 'cause God forgives. Yeah. Coming back around again.
Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Ron Stevens. This is Rock the Boat right here on UCY.TV, my favorite little network on the internet. And I'm your host for the next 2 hours. It is the 17th of September, and we're having better weather than we had all summer, which is fantastic. It's supposed to be quite warm next week. We had a wet, cooler summer than normal. And hopefully we get a very nice, pleasant fall. Because the trees are barely even changing colors yet, so that's a good sign. So hopefully it lasts a long time, and hopefully the winter doesn't show up for quite a while. Anyways, I got to say I'm really honored today because I got a young gentleman by the name of Christian who's going to come on the show today. I'll bring him in shortly. He just turned 16, and I'm really, really interested because I talk to as many young people as I get a chance to. I'm most definitely not welcomed around our high school or any other school in my town. As one of the counselors said, I said, I'm getting beat up pretty bad around here. And they go, well, you're scaring the hell out of everybody. Well, all I do is ask honest questions and look for honest answers. And when you do that, you run headlong into the corruption. And everything's really based on some lies. And they use those lies to control us. And once you start asking questions, you start to find answers, which generally, if you're still alive, should get you to stand up and ask some questions and question what's going on and not just accept everything that you're told. So Christian I was talking to him just a bit ago, and he kind of reminds me of a young lady that I filmed 8 years ago, in Sound, Ontario, who, this was back in the day of the global warming nonsense with Al Gore and David Suzuki, just firing out this most ridiculous propaganda, and the media's pumping it out because they're on side with it. And, she's just, she was 15 when she did the video, just turned 15. She's a grade 9 student and did a presentation, and she nailed it. And all she did was go ask a few questions of herself, right? She listened to what these people had to say and then asked some questions about it, which led her to do some research. Nobody told her global warming was phony. Something just didn't set right with her with this amount of propaganda coming in. She was sharp enough to pay attention to the propaganda and try to analyze it, which led her to doing some research. And, I asked her after I filmed her presentation how she's getting along in grade 9, because she's kind of like odd man out. And she's very difficult. The teachers don't want her talking to the other students because their job is to propagandize these children with the propaganda that's put into the curriculum. And so I'm going to try and catch up with her again, because that was 8 years ago. So she'll be like 23 now. And I'd like to see, where she's at. Very sharp girl. And I do know she was doing radio shows shortly after we did this film, this presentation. So I'm going to throw the presentation into, it's only, 4.5 minutes long, and that's all it took her to nail the fact that global warming is a fraud. So I'll throw that in the chat, and then I'm going to bring Christian in, and we'll go from there. So we will put this into the chat. And this is I'm hoping today's show is, because to me, the most important thing that we can do is join the different age groups together. Because Brzezinski said it would take 2.5, 3 generations to basically make people so stupid and so malleable, they won't question anything, and we can do whatever we want with them. And this is where we're at now. And they broke the links in the chain that tied the knowledge of the grandparents and the great-grandparents, just like the native people did, just like every other society did throughout the ages. The information was passed down from generation to generation to generation, so you couldn't con the people. Because if they tried to con the kids, the parents, the grandparents, and sometimes great-grandparents, if they're still around, they questioned this and they corrected it. But now what they've done, they did the same thing. The public school system has done the exact same thing as what they did to the native children. They took them from their families and they isolated them. And that information is not getting back to the family, and the family is not saying, whoa, up here a minute, this is a crock of nonsense. And this is how they get us into the position they want to have us in. So I'm going to throw that little clip in. I would love to run into this girl again. I'm sure I can track her down. I think my buddy that put this event on, and it was about, I think it was a food freedom event, because our food is all poisoned. But take a boo at that. And then I'm going to go grab Christian now and bring him in. And I'm really curious as to see, because so much has changed since I was his age. So, well, let me put that a different way. So much has changed, so little has changed at the same time. So we'll just have a nice chat today. Have I got you, Christian?
Hello.
How are you, my friend? Welcome to the show.
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm fantastic. It's to me, it's an honor to have you on the show. It really, truly is.
Yeah, thanks. It's good to be here.
Yeah, I just want to, I'm just real curious as to how badly, or if you guys even notice how badly you're locked down. I'll give you a couple examples. Mm-hmm. And I don't know what it's like in your school, but I talk to young people whenever I get a chance to, and I see the high school kids, wandering down the street and hanging out and that. And I asked them one time, I asked them several times, different groups, You know, you see 5 or 6 young guys wandering around the street. They all got their faces in their iPads and that, but I never see them. We used to, buck each other and, we'd wrestle and goof around and stuff like that. I don't see that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked them, I said, how come you guys don't roughhouse or anything? And they went, we're not allowed. I go, what do you mean you're not allowed? Who says you're not allowed? Well, the teachers. Because they say they keep track of us even when we're not in school. And if they see us goofing around like that, they kind of black mark us, and they tell us that could have a very negative effect on our future career options.
Mm-hmm.
And these are grade like 9 and 10 kids. And I'm going, what the hell's that about? Why would anybody, like, who the hell are you to tell me what I can and can't do kind of attitude, right?
Yeah.
But this idea that the kids are being watched even when they're not in school. And an example is a friend of mine. She pulled him out of school, and he turned out real solid. But him and his buddy were in a bit of a scrap. I mean, they're friends, right? Young guys scrap.
Yeah.
That's how you make solid friendships. And they were on the far side of the city.
Mm-hmm.
And got hauled into the principal's office. And the mother goes, what the hell's going on here? Well, they're not allowed to do that. Well, they're not in school. They're not on the school property. They're at the far side of town. And they weren't beating each other. They were just wrestling like young guys do.
Yeah.
Well, they're not allowed to do that. And it freaked the mother out. And a little while later, her son came home and got off the bus. And this is probably 7 years ago or so. Got off the bus. He was like, I think he was 12 at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And got off the bus, and his mother looked at him, and he had like shoulder-length blonde hair and that. But he's got full makeup on. And she looks at him and goes, what the hell is that? And he goes, what? Why do you look like a girl? Oh, today was gender reversal day, Mom. What? And that was his last day going to school. She said, you're out of there, right? Yeah. So I don't know if you've experienced any of that stuff or.
Well, I don't know, like, not so much now in high school, but when I was in grade 8, one of my friends after school, they were walking, and then I don't know what happened because I wasn't there, but there was, I think, about 10 kids in there just having a snowball fight, and then ended up the next day that they got called down, and I think a couple got suspended for a couple of days just for having a snowball fight after school and not even on the property. So that's
So that's like the school is actually keeping an eye on the kids when they're not in school.
I don't know. I think a teacher saw it or something like that. But just even things like snowball fights are banned, and
Well, like in my the high school here in town, they're not allowed to play baseball anymore because the bat's been designated as a weapon. That's
happened here too. Yeah, it's mostly in public schools again, but in high school, like I think they're revamping the rules for football because it's getting too dangerous, and same thing.
How is it getting any more dangerous than it ever was?
I don't know. They've been saying that there's like some testing going on kids' brains after football season or something like that.
But this is the data collection they do, right?
Yeah.
They do all this data collection and they use it to manipulate, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they'll say, well, yeah, people have been playing football forever, but now that we've done some data, your brain will get rattled, and we care about the kids so much, we don't want them to do this anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So in other words, we don't want you to have fun. And the data says you can't have fun because, well, you could rattle your brain.
Yeah.
Right? And I think we should take all the teachers and make them play football for a while. Give them a couple of concussions. might get you going on the right track. But the problem is, is that the school teachers go through the same system you're going through.
Yeah.
Right? So then they go to teacher school, and then they become teachers. And the propaganda that was driven to their head, they never shook it off. so when they get into the school, they're prime examples of what, you could say, well, football, the data says football could, hurt your brain.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the school system is designed to hurt your brain. All you got to do is look at your teacher.
Mm-hmm.
If you ever ask your teacher a serious question, you're going to mess them up, right? Because they're stuck in that little teacher's box, and they don't know what the hell they're talking about. They if they have a thing here now that they have a no touching policy.
Mm-hmm.
You know about this?
I know. Yeah, there's the no touching policy. That's
well, what does that make sense to anybody?
I don't know. I remember just as a, you just want to roughhouse when you're a kid. And,
yeah, well, that's what kids do.
Well, yeah, it was in grade 9. I got put into like a drama class, and we ended up going outside for I don't even know. We were just and one of my friends, I threw a ladybug at him, and
you bastard.
I got sent down to the office, and they said, if it wasn't for your clean record, you would have been suspended for it. And I said, for throwing a ladybug at someone? So, that's...
Seriously?
Yeah. They said, no touching policy. I was like, okay.
Well, where I don't even know where that came from, but, I mean, do the kids, like what, this is what I'm trying to get at is, okay, so you go to school and you have a no touching policy.
Mm-hmm.
So somebody comes up and, I mean, how do you shove each other into school? Like if somebody's bothering you, in the old days, you slam them up against the wall.
Yeah.
You say, you do that again, I'll take your freaking head off for you. Right? Yeah. Now you, you sound like a really solid kid. I mean, I'm just trying to imagine, Christian, down to the principal's office, please. And, yeah, what's up? Listen, bud, if it wasn't for your clean record, you'd be out of here. What'd I do? Well, you threw a ladybug at somebody. I mean, what is this, a loony bin? Right?
Well, that was my reaction. I was honestly kind of hoping to get suspended for it because it would have made for a funny story.
Yeah, it is a fun story, but I think the danger of it is, so you got your rest of your class, and you seem more, what would you call it, less afraid than most of the kids are. But I mean, the whole action here is that, oh, geez, Christian got pulled in for firing a ladybug at somebody, and if it hadn't been for a clean record, we would have got suspended. And the rest of the kids are going, oh, shit, I'd get in trouble if I went home and said I got suspended, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now the kids are walking on glass all the time, right?
Yeah.
And that doesn't make for independent people, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's easy to herd them at that point. Like when I heard they can't play baseball, I do remember though when I was in school they changed out to touch football, right? But you can't even play that now, right? Because you can't touch each other.
Yeah.
Then what the hell is this? What is it, a bunch of wussies or something? Right?
Feather football. No, that's still touching. Sorry.
Yeah, you can't touch. Like, how do you play tag? Like, do you send an email? Do you send an email? Like, or do you text somebody? Right? I didn't really, but mentally I touched you. Right? So you're it. Right? I don't know how. I see. I don't understand how the kids can put up with that kind of crap. But see, they teach the kids that it's normal, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they taught the kids that touching leads to. I was talking to a mother with a little kid, and some kid pushed a kid, and the kid fell down and broke his arm. Mm-hmm. Hey, it happens, right?
Yeah.
And it wasn't that he was trying to hurt the kid. The kid just fell down, broke his arm. Big deal. It'll heal, right?
Yeah.
And so the parents are charging the school or something like $600,000 because the no touching policy was broken, right? And And I was talking to this young mother, and she says, well, touching is how bullying starts, And I'm thinking, well, okay, you're young. You obviously came through the school system because what you just said to me makes no sense whatsoever. Mm-hmm. Right? How do you get touching turned into bullying? And this is what they do. Well, we looked at some data, and the data shows, and they just make this data up so that they can tell you shit they want you to believe. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, you can't touch anybody. Now, here's a question. You're 16, and you meet a really nice girl. How do you get near her if you can't touch her? Are you allowed to hold hands with your girlfriend? Because that's touching.
Yeah, no, you're not allowed any physical contact. So
holy crap. Do you want to go out tonight? Yeah, you walk on that side of the street, I'll walk on this side of the street. We'll get a megaphone and talk to one. Oh, I guess we could text each other, right? You look lovely tonight. Thank you very much. I'd really love to hold your hand. I'd love to hold your hand too. I'd like to do something else too, but we're not allowed to touch. Well, I don't know how anybody's going to make any children.
Ron, let your guest speak.
I will. I'm just trying to get him going here because I want him to speak on some of this absolute lunacy that's going on in the schools, and I really want to know what the hell the kids think about all of this stuff.
Well, I don't know. All the kids don't really want to do anything. They just kind of go with it. But we still push each other and do a lot of stuff. But things like one of the times I was sitting in the hallway and one of my friends comes up and he calls another kid a fag or something, and then the vice principal ends up coming around the corner and just started just yelling at him because a kid heard it or something and thought it was directed at him, but the kid wasn't there. And I don't know, but just for calling just you're a fag or something like that to another friend just as they're just playing around and got in trouble for that.
So you have to be extraordinarily careful what you do and what you say, what you do, who you touch.
Yeah.
You can't touch. So what's the general attitude in the school? It sounds not like anybody's having a lot of fun in this place.
Well, I don't like the normal kids who don't who don't really care and just still roughhouse and do all that stuff. They just go along, but it's meant to protect all the sensitive kids who
But then the question is, why are the kids so damn sensitive?
Yeah, well, that's
it's like they're turning I don't even want to use the word, but it's like they're turning the state into the parent, right? Mm-hmm. And this is where the links broke again, right? Mm-hmm. Because I don't think when your dad was in school, any of this stuff was in place.
We used to stuff guys in lockers.
Oh, I remember that, yeah. Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah.
You're sitting in class, they go, where's Johnny? I don't know. The kid's banging on the locker. Let me the fuck out of here. You wouldn't be able to do that today, right, Christian?
Nope. I would. You'd probably get expelled for that.
25 years in prison for that
one. But this is the problem because I don't think a lot of adults understand what's going on with the kids now, right? Mm-hmm. Like when I talk to people now, when I talk to people my age or somewhere in that vicinity, your dad's age or whatever, they have they're very demeaning of the young kids, mm-hmm. right? Useless little rats, right? But I don't think they have any connection to what's going on with the kids in the schools, right?
Yeah.
And like a normal kid would grow up and they'd play tag and they'd jump off roofs and they'd climb trees and they'd fall down and they get hurt. And it's like you got the state running around, oh, you can't do this and you can't do that. They even changed the playground equipment, right? Mm-hmm. So they don't want you to get hurt. Well, and now see when they have this problem with all this mental problem once the kids get to college and university, because their ability to deal with normal everyday things has been taken away from them. They don't know how to deal with anything anymore, right? So they're just messing the kids up. I talked to some kids who were actually asked to leave the school and take correspondence courses. And these were really intelligent kids. Mm-hmm. And I said, just let me get this straight now. I don't think you were raising too much hell in school, but I got this funny feeling you were asking some tough questions. Exactly. And I wasn't being a smart ass, but I just asked questions. And they don't want the kids in the classes to ask questions that are going to, not pertinent questions anyway, so that those kids become a problem. And they don't want them in the school because they don't want those kids encouraging the other kids to stand up and ask a question. Mm-hmm. So they're basically asked to leave the school because they're a problem. It's not that they're a problem, it's that they're a threat to the curriculum that's being taught. Now, I don't know if you have any kids in school like that or not, but...
No, not really. Again, everyone just sits in class and just listens and then leaves. No one really wants to say anything. Just want to get their mark.
That's what I mean. They put the fear into the children, right?
Yeah.
So they got this. They're teaching these kids that any authority that says anything to you, that you have to obey that authority, which makes it very easy later on in life for the government to come up with another stupid rule, and people just lay down to it.
I think Ron.
What?
I think you just missed the point my son was trying to make.
What's that?
Well, they just want to go through their class and get their mark, whether it's through intelligence or through being a good boy.
Yeah, I understand that. But it's the same thing as when I talked to the guy at the Law Society of Upper Canada, and we were talking about legal and law, and he was freaked out because once we got into this conversation of ways, he asked me, how do you think like this? It's not a matter of thinking, it's just a matter of asking a question and go find an answer, which leads you to a new question, which leads you to a new answer. And then you figure it out. And I said, you are a typical case of someone that just went to school, didn't ask any questions, just wanted to get your marks, get to the next grade, get your marks, get to the next grade, get to university. Never ask a question. They can tell you whatever the hell they want. You never ask the question. You just believe everything they say, even though everything they say is wrong. Right? And now they got you.
Yeah.
And this is a very dangerous, very, very dangerous thing. Like, is the mood in the school, you guys are all basically young men and women now, right? But I'm trying to figure out the mood in the class. And it's just sit there, get through this class, get to the next one. Is that what's going on in school?
That's what I just described to you.
Well, that's when I quit school.
Yeah, well,
I looked at my fellow students and I thought, these people are each year that we go to school, these people are getting more docile than the year before, and they keep coming up with new rules that are detrimental to the mental health of the children. And I'm looking at my class and I'm thinking, you people are becoming brain dead. You can't think anymore. You just go there and you just go to your class, don't ask any questions, do your homework, hand it in, and just carry on. And that's dangerous.
Yeah. Well, I had one teacher in science. I do the same thing. I just sit there and listen. And, as long as a lot of the tests are just multiple choice anyways. So anything what he said, no one's learning. You just hear it and hope that you get it right. But he would just walk out of class like halfway through, and just the kids would just sit there and just hang out. It was more of just a fun class than anything, because That's I don't know. It's just starting to happen more and more in my class. It's not so much teaching as the teacher just wants to get out too.
So you guys never do anything like we did in class, right? Like, get there early and move all the desks out of the room or stuff like that? And the teacher comes in and there's no desks?
No. You guys... Well, we can't. We're not allowed messing with the teacher either, because that would probably be a suspension or something. But...
See, that's really changed, because when I was young, we tested our teachers each year. And we decided which teachers could stay and which teachers had to leave. Mm-hmm. And we would basically run the teacher the hell out of the class, right? If we didn't think the teacher was up to snuff, we just get rid of them. We had teachers having meltdowns in the class, right? Mm-hmm. Running away in tears. Well, you're not capable of teaching, right? So get out. But you can't do that anymore, right?
No. No.
So you have to put up, regardless of how useless the teacher is, you have to put up with it.
Yeah, or they just, I really don't learn anything, honestly. It was somewhere where I have to go every day, and
Well, I think you hit it on the head there now, because a lot of people are complaining that if they try to hire someone young, they don't know anything, right? Mm-hmm. Because you lose your, if you're just sitting in class, you lose, say, okay, I'm here, I'm stuck here, I got to be here. This teacher's going wah, 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 like in the Charlie Brown cartoons. And you leave, and you're really not learning anything. And I think it diminishes the desire to learn, if that makes any sense. So now when people are trying to hire young people, they go, man, these people are useless. They don't want to know anything, right? They'll just show up, just like they show up in the school, right? Mm-hmm. And you're disengaged from what you should be involved in. I mean, if you're in school for 8 hours a day or whatever it is, and it's just boredom, and you're just hanging to wait to get out and not learning anything. Mm-hmm. Like, do they not teach you guys how I'm sure they teach you this in the school now. Like, do you not have classes where they teach you how to make rainbow crosswalks and stuff? That's important.
I don't know, actually. I don't think there's anything like, the gender studies or anything like that. But, they put the gender neutral bathrooms in there. And
you have that in your schools?
Yeah, they had to, because I guess a lot of them were complaining. Well, no, I had a friend who was using the bathroom, and a transgender girl guy thing walks in and just sat there and just stared, and then everyone's just looking at them like, why are you in my bathroom? It's kind of an awkward thing when you're using the washroom and you get a girl who thinks her guy walks in and wants to.
And but you guys put up with that, right?
Well, we have to. If we said anything, it would
be offensive.
Yeah, we'd either get kicked out or.
Well, see, I'm sure when I was your age, if they'd done that, we would have just vacated the school again. Mm-hmm. So it's bullshit, right? Like, you got to call it for what it is, right?
Yeah.
Like they're actually, see, this transgender thing. All you got to do is look in your pants, right? That should pretty much answer your question, right? But what I'm seeing, like when my friend's son got off the bus dressed looking like a girl, right? Mm-hmm. And she had just a complete spaz. And when she, he didn't understand at the age of 12 what his mom was so upset about, mm-hmm. because to him that was normal. It's gender reversal day, Mom. Like what's your problem? And it's like they're targeting the kids now, right? Mm-hmm. And I don't think I'm wrong, but it seems to me that they're going after these sensitive kids to, like, you don't really like to play football or that. Well, I guess you can't even play that anymore. But targeting these kids that you're not necessarily the gender you were born as.
Mm-hmm.
And then so now they're producing these people, in order to get what do you call those washrooms now?
Gender neutral.
Now, how can you be gender neutral? I mean, just that term doesn't make any sense.
I honestly, I don't know. There's, I kind of like the picture on the door. How you got the men's washroom and then the women's bathroom with like the girl in the dress or whatnot, like the stick figures. But on the gender neutral one, it has it's got a man and a woman, and it's like cut in half, so it's like they're together. It's
so split down the middle, or
yeah, just right down the middle, and yeah, I don't even know. I really haven't seen anybody use it, but I think it's mostly a teacher's bathroom because it's just upstairs.
That's ouch. Bill, the teacher. Today I'm Susan. Oh, right. Sorry about that. You use that washroom over there, please. No, I mean, it's like they're setting this stuff up, as like I saw a document that, it's called queering early childhood education, right? And they're, like I've seen stories where they're bringing drag queens into libraries and, to tell stories to preschool children and that, right? It's like they're trying to grow these kind of people.
Yeah.
Well, they're not normal.
Mm-hmm.
So the school's actually, involved in mental child abuse, really. And I'm just concerned that the students aren't standing up to this stuff. And I'm really concerned that the parents generally don't know this is even going on in the schools. Like, did your dad know you guys got a transgender or whatever, a neutral washroom, gender neutral washroom?
Only because I told him, because, and no one speaks up because, they have an assembly like, once a month or whatnot, and and then they tell you that bullying is not tolerated and blah, 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 and if you do, you'll be sent out. So
basically, the children or the kids are wandering around nervous.
Yeah, well, because a lot of the time I'm even afraid because if someone's in your way and even say excuse me, you're scared they're just gonna start flipping out at you because he's just.
See, I remember a long time ago, I opened a door for a woman, and she crawled all over my face. Right. Got really perturbed with me. Mm-hmm. There's a lady, and I'm going to the same door, so I held the door open for her, right? And she just ripped my head off. And I go, what the hell is your problem, right? Mm-hmm. Don't you think I can open my own door by myself? This was during the feminism period.
Oh, yeah.
All right? And you go like, you ain't ever getting a date.
Yeah.
But this is what they do, and they make this stuff seem normal, and they screw everybody up in the process. Like back in the day, if somebody had come to our school dressed as a girl, mm-hmm. They would have got suspended.
Oh, yeah, well.
Right?
Yeah.
And now they get a special washroom. It doesn't make any sense. So, here's a question for you too. What kind of percentage of different races do you have in your school?
We got a lot of different races in our school.
And how are they all getting along together?
Oh, just fine. Yeah, because that's another thing. Racism. Racism is another thing. You gotta treat everyone equally, and you
gotta treat everybody with respect.
Yeah,
and you gotta be very careful what you say.
Well, no, because even all the black students were starting to complain because they felt they were getting treated differently, and all the kids like they could get away with it if they said that they're being harassed. You know what I mean? No one can say no, you weren't, because then you're being racist. So
So they get to play that card.
Yeah, and that's what happens. Because if you're in class and they say something and you don't think what they're saying is right and you try to debate them, then they're like, okay, well, because you're white and I'm black, you're obviously just threatening me, and then they'll go down to the office and you'll have to get talked to because you're not allowed debating black kid. So it never ends. You know what I mean?
That's what I'm saying. Like, you're supposed to be going there to learn something, and they're teaching you all this stuff that is absolutely detrimental.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I say something I had, when I was a kid, probably 12, 13 years old, I lived up in Alva Valley, and the only this black family moved in. He was a teacher, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he had a couple of boys, and he had a boy my age, and he's blacker than the ace of spades. They originally came from South Africa. Mm-hmm. And super nice guy, right?
Yeah.
But, we'd be walking down the street and people would be just firing shit at him, right? Hey, nigger! Right? And, and these are some of my friends, right? And I go, what the hell's wrong with you people, right?
Yeah.
And I defended him not because of any other reason than he was a good guy.
Yeah.
But he wasn't running around going, oh, they hurt my feelings, right?
Yeah.
He didn't do any of that shit, right? And, but now what I understand is I can be anything other than a white kid and basically do what I want. And if you question me, I'll just go to the principal's office and say, he said something that was, it hurt my feelings.
Mm-hmm.
And you get hauled in there, right? And you're being told you have to be very respectful. And my question, well, when are they going to start respecting me? Well, they don't have to respect you, right? Then that seems to be the deal that's going on.
It's that white privilege.
What white privilege?
Well, when another story is when we were reading To Kill a Mockingbird, and one of the black kids got offended because it says the N-word in it, so they had to stop saying the N-word in To Kill a Mockingbird. So
why couldn't you read the book?
Well, there you go. Hey, it's like taking down statues, isn't it, Ron?
It's exactly like that. Like your dad was telling me that John A. McDonald lived in Kingston, mm-hmm. and he now they want to get rid of his name on the schools, and he's our first prime minister.
Yeah.
And so what it is, we're having revisionist history. They're removing us. And like I was saying on the show last night, it kind of reminds me, I don't know if you've ever seen Back to the Future movies or whatever. Mm-hmm. But in the one scene there, the kid, I forget what the hell was his name? Marty was holding a picture of his family. And he went back in time because they're trying to fix the history, right? Mm-hmm. And his family was slowly starting to disappear, right? And mm-hmm. It seems exactly that's what they're doing now. They're disappearing us, right? Because mm-hmm. we have to step aside for everybody else, even though it was
we built the country.
The white guys that built the freaking country. We just have to step aside now. And we have to be totally respectful for everybody that's coming in here. And we're not supposed to say anything like, why are you disappearing our past? Mm-hmm. And that's what they do. They disappear your past. So eventually, probably in another generation or two, what's being taught in school will be even different than what's being taught now. And eventually, our history doesn't exist. Mm-hmm. And if you don't have any history, you got nothing. And that's what that's why I keep saying about the Native people. That's what they did to the Native people. The state took the kids and put them in the school and basically trashed their linkage to their heritage, right? Mm-hmm. And we see what happened to most Native people. They're screwed up. They're stuck on reservations. And, I want to say this to you. I don't know if I ever said it to you or not, but it's really important. I was up at a reserve getting some smokes and asked this lady, probably 55 or whatever, and she's very quiet. And I just asked her if she understood the plan for Whitey, meaning non-natives.
Mm-hmm.
And she didn't even say anything. She just smiled at me and nodded her head yes. And I said, well, okay, well, how come you get it so easy and talking to whiteys like beating your head on the wall? And she went, it's simple. They did it to us, and now it's your turn. And she's absolutely correct. She floored me. Right? We didn't have this big discussion. It was so simple, and it is so simple. Okay? If you look at what happened to the native people here, and it wasn't your great-grandfather that did anything to a native, right? It was the same company, the same group of people is doing it to us now to push their agendas. And, I don't know if they're teaching you about infill in school and high-density housing and all that kind of stuff, because we have to do this to protect the environment and stuff, and the animals have to be allowed to run free. Do they teach you that shit in school?
Nope. No, they help. Global warming is bad.
They teach it to you in city council.
Yeah, but I mean, in the schools, they're not talking about high density and all this kind of stuff. We gotta, they ever bring up that A to A thing in your school, that Algonquin to Adirondack?
No, is that animal pathway or whatnot?
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah. They talk about that stuff in school?
Not really. No, it's just they kind of just stay on the surface and say, we got to save our environment, and this is how we can do it.
Yeah.
Stop.
Push everybody into Toronto. That's how we'll save the environment.
Well, I'm kind of interested because they're still hammering away on this environment stuff, I guess, the global warming and that. I mean, do the kids honestly believe that global warming is real?
Oh, yeah, and, you can't deny it either because
Well, no, then you're anti-Semitic, right? Hang
on, Ron. Take this thread and go with it.
What?
All the kids in school believe that global warming is real.
Well, I don't know about that because I'm talking to kids now, and when I talked about global warming years ago, they just go, "Whoa, this guy's weird. He doesn't think global warming is real." And now when I'm talking to some of the young people, there's more and more of them that are questioning it.
Not really. All they got to do is pull up a Bill Nye the Science Guy video, and then everyone just kind of like, "Oh, okay, now I get it."
Say that again.
They just all they got to do is just pull up a Bill Nye the Science Guy video, and then all the kids watch it, and then just instantly believe it.
Bill Nye the Science Guy?
Yep.
This guy's, oh my goodness. I mean, this guy's the biggest cracker that ever landed on the planet. But see what they did, right? When these kids were really young sitting at home, they're watching Bill Nye the Science Guy, who lays his propaganda nonsense into them. So when they get to school, the teachers are saying the same thing as Bill Nye was saying before they got to school. And the kids go, oh, well, it must be real because Bill Nye told us when I was a little wee kid. And now the teacher's telling me, so it must be real.
Mm-hmm.
They did that with, what were them stupid little cartoon things? The Smurfs. I think it was the Smurfs. And in the background, they always had windmills, right? Mm-hmm. One of them cartoon shows. Anyway, so what you have is you have a little kid that's 2, 3, 4 years old that ain't in school yet, and the mother puts them in front of the TV, and they're watching the Smurfs, and they see all these windmills all the time. When they get to school, they go, windmills will be, it's clean, green, free energy, right? And the kids they've already seen these windmills over and over and over and over again. So when they get to school, it looks normal,
mm-hmm.
right? And so you're pre-programmed before you ever get to kindergarten.
Yeah.
And so and that's really dangerous because all they're doing is prepping you for what the teachers are going to shove down your throat. But you tell me you don't know anybody in your school that just said, this whole global warming thing is the biggest crock of shit I ever heard in my life?
He's asking you.
Sorry, say that again?
I said, there's nobody in your school that's saying this whole global warming thing is just a crock of nonsense.
No, everyone believes it.
But why do they believe it?
Because Bill Nye the Science Guy said it. Oh, no, I don't know.
Like, nobody wants to punch Bill in the head?
Well, no, they like it because they can just, they just.
But Bill's pushing the transgender nonsense now.
No, I don't know.
See, this is the thing. So they give Bill a news show. Now Bill's talking about what is that they call that? Gender neutral and whatever, all that nonsense. Mm-hmm. And so now he's got another show where the little kids, parents are putting them in front of the TV, and they got Bill Nye on there now teaching them about transgenderism and stuff. Mm-hmm. And so when the kid gets to school and the teacher starts talking about transgenderism and you've got a gender neutral bathroom, right? Mm-hmm. The kids are messed up. And because they don't know anything. They have nothing to base, there's nothing solid there, right? Mm-hmm. So they're easy pickings now. It's easy to get them. So, well, maybe you really are a girl, even though you're born.
But Bill Nye, the not real science guy, puts a pretty picture on it, and the masses watch it, so it must be true.
I know, that's the whole problem. Like, I remember I was going to a meeting up in Owen Sound, and I got some gas at a gas station, and the two young guys were about 17 or 18 years old. The guy pumping the gas, and his buddy was in the station. So I went in to pay, and I says to the kid that pumped the gas, I said, if David Suzuki walked in here right now, what would you have to say to him?
Jesus, he's God.
And the kid that pumped the gas, and he got all nervous, and he said, with David Suzuki? And I went, yeah. Oh, I just say, I'm so pleased to meet you, and you're doing such wonderful work and all this kind of stuff. I said, wrong answer. And I looked at his buddy, and I said, if Suzuki walked in here right now, what would you say or do? If Suzuki walked in right now, I'd kick him in the nuts. Right? Which was the right answer. Because the guy's a multi-millionaire who's lying to you to become a multi-millionaire.
Jet setting all over the world.
Yeah, I mean,
getting destroyed on debates, left, right, and center.
Yeah, this is what I don't understand about the kids in the school. Like, you don't. I used to drive my teachers nuts because I'd ask them questions and they didn't want to answer it, and so you're just saying, well, either you're stupid, the teacher's stupid, or there's a reason you don't want to answer my question because you're hiding something.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it takes to get. I don't know if the kids have been so put down now that they don't know how to ask that question. Like, you get the students not have. I'm trying to picture this in my head in this school. You got a whole pile of different races in there. Mm-hmm. You're being taught all some really strange stuff. And don't the kids just kind of get together outside and just have conversations like, what the fuck are they teaching us here, right? I don't know if they do that. We used to do that. Mm-hmm. Like, does that happen?
Not really.
Like, has school just become that completely boring and it's got to the point where most of the kids just ignore everything? Like, this guy's really been pissing me off. I think I'll meet him outside in the schoolyard and have at him. Well, you can't do that. Why? Because he ain't white. And
yeah.
You win the fight, but you're going to lose in the long run, right? Because they're going to drag your ass here and there and kick you out of school or whatever. Mm-hmm. And even if you had a legitimate reason for getting into a fight, and there's always a legitimate reason, fights happen, right? But what the school's saying is no, there is no legitimate reason. Like if you got two guys in your class that are absolutely not getting along together, okay, and one guy's digging the other guy or vice versa, how does that get dealt with?
Well, if a teacher overhears it, they're supposed to call a principal. But if the two kids end up fighting, depending on what was going on, even if you touch the kid, or if he pushes you and you push him back, you're both going to get suspended. Even if it was in self-defense, you're still supported fighting. They say so.
So you're in the school, and I'm a white kid or a black kid or a East Indian kid, and me and you ain't been getting along so good together, and it's fairly tense every time we see each other. And he gives me a shove, or I give him a shove, right? Like, get your shit together, right? And so he starts coming at me, and I decide to defend myself. That I'm in equal amount of trouble.
Yeah, you'd both get, because you're just supposed to sit there and let him punch you, and then wait for a teacher.
Well, that's an interesting rule.
Yeah.
Emasculation of males.
It is. Yeah, it's exactly what it is. Like you're a man, right? And they're telling you can't act like a man.
Yeah.
So what is it you get to act like? Like, if you can't act like a man, then what is it you're supposed to act like?
Monkeys.
Like you did, both of you go to get, you say you're having an argument with somebody and you say, listen, I had enough of your shit, right? You say, well, listen, we're getting in trouble. Why don't we go to the gender neutral washroom and talk it out? I'm trying to picture the school, and it's messing me up. Like, I was talking to some kids. They have a picnic table down at the edge of the school yard. And I was driving by one morning. There's about, 8 young guys sitting there, shooting the shit. So I pulled over and I pull in to talk to them. And then I'm only talking to them for a couple minutes. And then I look up at the school and I see a cop looking out, standing outside the back door. And then he goes in. And he gets, I guess, the principal, maybe the vice principal, grabs them, and they come out, and they're all standing there looking down at me talking to the kids. And then, the bell goes, kids go, we got to fly, man. And so, we say bye, and they take off. And then the cop comes down, and I said, what's up? And I said, what the hell's going on here with this, right? Well, we just wondered what you were up to. I was just shooting the shit with these guys. Is that a problem? Well, you never know. Well, what the fuck is going on here? Like it doesn't make any sense. And it doesn't make any sense that the kids put up with this shit. Like, how are you going to have strong men and strong women if they can't touch each other? They can't, they can't get in. Can you even get into a verbal argument?
Yeah, no, verbal arguments would probably get you a lunch detention or something like that. if it was worse enough. You're really not allowed anything mean, anything that hurts someone else's feelings. You can't do. So
see, this is how far this has gone now. I'm talking to government agencies, right? And these are people who came through the school system, and would be talking, and eventually they'll say to me, "Well, I'm feeling uncomfortable with this conversation," and you go, "Excuse me?" "Well, I'm feeling very uncomfortable." Well, that's your fault. It's your problem, not mine. Well, I'm going to end the conversation now because I'm not feeling comfortable. I feel bullied. And these are people that are in the government. Yeah. So you can't even have a conversation with anybody anymore because as soon as you start to make them think a little bit, they get uncomfortable. And so now they can't put me in detention, so they just run away. Now, how are you supposed to get it accomplished when you're dealing with mindless idiots? And I'm feared that that's what they're trying to turn the kids into. Now, tell me yes or no. You have worked, right? Right? You've worked at different places. Have I still got you? What's going on here? What is going on here? Oh. What the hell happened? What is going on? What the hell's going on? Have I got you?
You got us.
Okay, so maybe one of your teachers is listening to the show because my computer just freaked out.
Oh, okay. I thought it was ours.
No, it was mine.
That's a conspiracy, I tell you.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You know, like you're not in school, but you can't say anything about the school. Maybe I got a detention there quick that I didn't know about. But what I was trying to ask you, Christian, is you've worked, I think, a couple of jobs.
Yep.
Yeah. So you worked what, in a grocery store?
Right now I'm working at an auto shop in Metro. So.
Yeah. How's that? That should be better for you.
Yeah, it's good. I like it.
Like it's not as wussy as the school, likely.
No.
But
It worked for his dad.
Well, I wouldn't. But that's another subject altogether.
Like a
What?
dog.
What's that?
I slaved him like a dog.
Well, it's good though, right? It's good because he's a young man, right? But
Very strong young man.
what like what I'm getting from a lot of people is none of these kids want to work anymore. They feel privileged.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Do you feel that from from people your age, or I mean, you're out working. You got your attitude right.
Well, no one wants to find jobs. They just, they'd rather just sit down and do nothing. But I mean, you can't really do anything without money. So.
Well, this is like I was talking to a young guy, and he says I was looking for some help, and he says, well, I don't know where the hell you're going to find it because like anybody under 25 don't want to do nothing, right? And that's a scary thought. You know, I was like you, like, and probably your dad, right? Like when I was 14, I'm looking for work, right? Because if I want to get something, I got to go earn the money to get it.
Yeah.
And now I don't know where all this money's coming from that these kids get, but like they just go with their parents. Like, you owe me.
Yeah, that's it. Most of them still get allowances, and they get all their money handed to them.
Yeah, and that's not a good thing either because that just doesn't give them any desire to do anything.
Yeah.
Like you're working in a body shop or what?
It's like they do transmissions. So.
Oh, transmission joint?
Yeah. So I just basically clean up and do all that stuff, but I hope to become a mechanic. So if I can get in there, it's gonna get me somewhere. But yeah,
like I started working at a gas station when I was 15. On the weekends and that, and in short order, right? Like if you show the initiative, right? I get bored easy, right? So, when I started, I was pumping gas and cleaning up and this kind of stuff. And within not a very long time, I was ripping motors down, right?
Mhm.
And because the boss is, geez, you guys, you want to do stuff, right? Yeah. My boss used to freak out. He said, it's lunch. And I said, yeah, but I just want to get this done first, right? I'm working on this motor or whatever the hell I'm working on, right? He said, but it's lunch. Well, I'll get to lunch, right? I'm busy right now. And he's going, damn. And he wanted me to be, well, actually, he fired me because I wouldn't cut my hair. And it was the same kind of nonsense, sort of, in a weird way that's going on now because, I said, what do you mean cut my hair? Why would I cut my hair? Are you dissatisfied with my work? He said, no, you're really good. Well, then what's the problem? Well, some of the customers are complaining and that. Well, I never heard a complaint, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm thinking what happened is you and your old army buddies got together and said, like you was that era, damn hippies, right? Damn transgenders, right? There's always something going on. And so he went on holidays. So I'm looking after the place while he's on holidays. And he told me, he says, when I come back, you better have a haircut or you're out of here. So he was gone for a week or two and he comes back and he says, I guess I'm fired, right? He said, you didn't get a haircut. No, and I don't intend to. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Because because you're getting pressure from somewhere and you're not willing to stand up for yourself or me, that you're being coerced into this bullshit. And so I guess I'm fired. But I don't want to fire you. I know that. And I don't want to get a haircut. So what's going to happen? So I left. And he said, I don't have a choice. Well, of course you got a choice. Well, I said I was going to fire you. Well, I didn't say I was going to get a haircut.
Mm-hmm.
And, I know where the pressure was coming from. But I went out west, and I was working out west. I came back a few years later, and I dropped in to see him. And he said, will you come and do the apprenticeship? Right? But you fired me. Well, you got a haircut. It's asinine, right?
Yeah.
Because people are being influenced by things that are outside of what should be influencing them.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just really proud that you're 60. You just turned 16, eh?
Yep.
So what I would like you to do, if you can, I put that video in your dad's Skype chat there,
Mm-hmm.
of that girl who was just turned 15 when she did that, about global warming, which that video was 8 years ago. And I wouldn't mind if you took that video and, just sent it off to some of your friends and that.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll go, wait a minute, she's young and she stood up to this shit. Because if everybody just believes global warming is real and nobody's questioning it's real, and if the teachers or wherever that's coming from is saying if anybody denies it, then they're wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if the teachers are telling you that the scientists somehow have this capacity to do some computer models and tell us that if we don't drastically change our lifestyles, that over the course of the next 100 years, that the temperature could rise, not will rise, but could rise. You got to listen to the language, right?
Mm-hmm.
When they're talking about possible and could and maybe, right?
Mm-hmm.
That ain't got nothing nailed down, right? Because they don't got it nailed down because they don't have the capacity to nail it down. I mean, if somebody thinks that scientists have the capacity to understand the entire global cyclical temperatures over the course of 100 years and tell you that if it rises 2 degrees centigrade, 2 degrees,
Mm-hmm.
That's the difference between a day at 19 degrees and a day at 21 degrees. You probably don't notice it, but the Earth notices it. And the whole thing will just implode upon us. And that'll be that. Well, I don't know how any student could even, say, whoa, hold the frickin' phone here. Like, what are these people, like magicians or something? Right?
Yeah.
I saw when that hurricane came into Florida, and they had all these different lines. The frickin' hurricane's just sitting offshore of Florida, like 90 miles away.
Mm-hmm.
And they got all these different lines drawn around. Well, I think it's going to come here. It could go there. Maybe it's coming here. It could go that way, right? And the things are just sitting offshore, and the teacher's telling you that the scientists can tell you in 100 years from now what the temperature is going to be. Well, you don't even know where the freaking hurricane's going. It's just offshore. Like, I don't understand why this isn't being questioned by the students. I just don't get that.
Yeah, sure.
I don't even know. They just, again, it's just all about, they don't really care. they just
but there's an old saying, right? That
Ron, what you got to understand, what Christian is trying to tell you, and he's not telling you completely, is a lot of his teachers just want to cash out.
Mm-hmm.
They're towing the line. They're on a government paycheck. They get a government pension. They're ready to retire, so they don't give a shit. How
no, they don't. This is
are taught. They just want to do their time and get out and get their pension.
Right, and that is what's so incredibly dangerous about the school system. Right? These people that are teaching you, they don't give a damn about you. Right? They don't give a damn about your future. They don't give a damn about anything. They're getting up in the morning, just like when you go to the shop to work on a transmission or whatever. They're just going there.
Mm-hmm.
And those teachers will tell you any shit that they're told to tell you.
Mm-hmm.
Because they don't give a damn about you.
Well, they got a good paycheck.
And so,
they got a union.
Exactly. And they're told that, their job is to shove whatever propaganda is required to be shoved down your throat at any given time. And there's an old saying that silence is consent. And if the students remain silent, then they're consenting to everything that you guys disagree with.
Exactly.
All right. So if you stay silent, they'll say, okay, they're good with this. And you're not good with it. But if the students stay silent, then you've consented to it. So they just keep bringing in the next program, the next program, the next program. If I had a teacher come up and said, well, the data says, well, okay, I want to see all the data sheets. I want to see who comprised them. I want to know what the parameters of the data collection was. So I can sit down and go through it and find out if this is bullshit or not. Mm-hmm. The idea that the teacher says, oh, this data says that, we have to have transgender washrooms and we have to have this and we have to have that because the data says so, or you can't touch each other because it leads to bullying because that's what the data states. You better get the data down here on the table. Where did you get the data? Well, I don't have any data. That's just what it said in the book. Well, so you don't know where the data came from? No. You don't know how it was compiled? No. You don't know who's behind it? No. You don't know what the purpose of it is? No. Then why are you telling me the data says this? You don't know jack shit.
Mm-hmm. Well, when we do our, like, if they give us a presentation to do, they'll tell us to send them all the links of where we got our information, write down the names of the people. But when they go up and talk, it's just like they explain it to us and we don't, they don't have to give where they got any of their stuff. So,
I should just.
That's scary.
I should just send this girl's.
She just said?
Yeah.
Isn't that kind of scary?
Well, of course it's scary. It's desperately scary because There's nothing there. Like, I have a saying. I see somebody stole it. I've been saying this for so long. Somebody stole it, made a meme out of it or something, or whatever they call those things you stick on Facebook. But people say, we can't say what's on our mind. We don't have free speech. That's true. I don't even know where that came from. Well, they told us we couldn't say what we want. And so somebody told you can't say what you want, so you don't say what you want. That doesn't make any sense. I have a saying I used for years. Say what you mean what you say, and if somebody doesn't like it, they can walk away. Because if you do not say what's on your mind, then somebody's controlling your mind. And when you let someone control your mind and your thought processes, you're dead in the water. So, I don't know. The students, it's not the student's fault. I make that very plain. It's not the student's fault. It's the parents' fault. It's the grandparents' fault. And the problem is that those people came through the same public school system. And they've incrementally taught different to move their propaganda forward. And there's nobody pushing back against it. So when some kid does stand up and say, "Whoa, hold the phone here," then they get suspended or they get asked to leave school. They're a problem, or they want to have a mental assessment on them or whatever, because they actually know what the hell they're talking about. And all that does is scare the other students. Did you hear what happened to Johnny or Sally? Yeah, I ain't going there, man. Could ruin my freaking career choices. It doesn't make any sense. Like, I'd like to teach in a school for like a week.
Well, Ron, remember when Christian was telling you about how they're softening up the football league? Christian played football in public school for a couple years, right?
Yeah.
But did you hear about the CFL, which is the junior league for the NFL?
Actually, I like CFL football far more than I like American football.
Well,
I call them the girl football team because they got to have 4 downs to get 10 yards.
Yeah, no way. Pussies. Well, it gets better. They're not allowed. The CFL has just decided that they're not allowed to hit each other during practices.
No.
Yeah. You want a feather?
No.
Yeah. Oh, because of concussions and stuff. That's what Christian was talking about earlier. He's talking about it in high school.
So professional football players aren't allowed to hit each other.
CFL, which is the junior league for the NFL.
It's not the junior league. It's the Canadian league.
They're pussies. You got one guy that had a $12 million contract. He went to the NFL.
Yeah.
First down, he got crippled for life. Not saying we don't have some strong boys, but not a very powerful league. And now it's getting worse because.
Well, I quit watching all. I mean, I used to be a big football fan, and not American. I was never an American football fan, ever, because I just looked at it. Right? So you guys 4 downs, we get 3. You're wuss bags. You're not men at all.
We're not
so I always liked CFL better, but I gave up on all sports some years ago.
I know it's all distracting, but my point is emasculation. We're talking about a man's sport, and they're not allowing the men to hit each other during practices so that they don't get injured before a game. So they gotta slap each other with feathers.
Yeah, like
or touch. No, wait, I don't think touching's allowed either.
Well, it's like this. what they've done is they've taken decisions away from people. Nobody's forcing you to play football or any other sport or do anything. But if you make a decision, you want to be a football player or whatever it is you want to do, that's your decision and that's your responsibility, right? But they're saying, oh, no, we got some data, and therefore you can't hit in practice. And that really messes the guys up, because you can't hit in practice. Then when you get out in the real game, you don't know what the hell you're doing anymore. Right? Should I hit? Shouldn't I hit? I don't know. Maybe I'll get a concussion. Oh, I'll just stand over here. It messes up the sport. Right? Like what would they do? Like, Christian, I'm pretty sure this isn't in your school, but when I was your age, we had a gun range in our school. Right?
Yep.
And we were encouraged to become good shots, right? They wanted us to be marksmen. Mm-hmm. And none of the guns were locked up. None of the ammo was locked up. They're just laying around down the gun range. You get some time, you go down there and target shoot, right? Mm-hmm. In the school. Now, if you bring a water pistol to school, they'll probably tackle you, right?
Yeah.
Like if you walked into a school and you pulled out a water pistol and went squirt, that would be probably equal to throwing a ladybug at somebody. You end up in the office.
Yeah.
So how do you have fun?
No, they don't want you having fun.
That's against the rules.
Yeah.
Like if you got into a scrap with a friend, and this is something that Chris, I think, will agree with. Some of the best friends I ever made came out of a good fight.
Yeah. Because
when we were done, we had respect for each other, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because we stood our ground. And now you can't make those connections anymore. Like a lot of fights, there's a lot of bonding comes out of that,
mm-hmm.
right? And you understand each other after that, right?
Yeah.
This bullying thing. I had a friend in school who was, because I hung out with both sides, right? Hung out with the so-called, we called them brown nosers, trying to get really high marks, and then the tough guys. Mm-hmm. I hung out with both of them, and I got along fine with both of them, right? But I had a friend of mine who was, always worried about getting bullied, and I don't get that, right? So I told him, I said, look so this guy's wearing leathers and chains and stuff, which probably isn't allowed in your school these days. But I said, he ain't that tough. He just thinks he's tough. Like, you're a pretty solid guy. So you're going to have to deal with it, or you're going to run scared all your life. So he went to the bathroom, and the guy with the leathers went in after him. And so now these two guys are stuck in the bathroom together. And my friend he come out, and I said, how'd that go? And he said, the guy's just fucking bugging at me all the time. Yeah, and? Well, I just, like you said, don't take this shit. So I just wheeled around and hammered him one, and he fell on the floor. And I said, there, end of bullying, right? This guy will never bother you again. But you guys don't get to go through that. What happens if someone's bullying someone? Where do you go to the what do they call that? The not the principal, but the guidance counselor or something?
Bullying school.
No, well, and that's another thing, because there's obviously people you just want to punch in the face, but if they're just bullying kids, and if a kid did stand up and end up punching them, they would be the ones in trouble, because they don't tolerate violence. And, you can't use your words, because that's also you're threatening them. So get in trouble for that. So you're supposed to go to the office and tell an adult, and then they'll
you are an adult.
No, they want everyone being safe, but so
Wow.
no fighting.
How many kids in your school?
There's 1,000, I think, or just under.
1,000. So you got 1,000 kids of multi races and multi genders now, who all believe in global warming, who are afraid to say what's on their mind, and can't throw a ladybug at any. I can't. That one blows me away. I can't. I've been trying to picture this ever since you said that, right? Like, I don't know how big your ladybugs are down there, but like ours are pretty big. Like, what are they? Like 4-pound ladybugs?
Yeah.
Like, like, are you going to hurt somebody? Like, you're in the office. Okay, you're in the office. Are these teachers actually able to keep a straight face?
Well, no, there was actually there's 2 of the principals in there because it was so dangerous what I did, and they actually they called my mom and said, we have to do something about Christian. He was throwing ladybugs at people, and then she started to laugh. Yeah.
And these are actually principals, like principal, vice principal, or something.
Yeah, these are the.
And they're that concerned that you threw a ladybug. They had to phone your mother.
Yeah.
And this is a huge deal. Like, what did your mother say? What are you people nuts?
Yeah, no, she just started laughing and said, "Okay."
Yeah, but
you notice he didn't call his father.
But the principals that are talking to you, are they doing this with a straight face? Are they not giggling?
No, they were very angry.
Angry.
Yeah. Then I had to go up and apologize to the teacher because of how much stress I put her through by throwing a ladybug.
Holy lifting. Oh man. This is I mean, it's funny. I mean, it's funny, but it's not even close to funny.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, this is the kind of crap. Like, I had a teacher one time. We used to have these pea guns, right?
Yeah.
Like white bean guns, right? They had a spring in them. They loaded a bunch of white beans in them, and they fired pretty good.
Yeah.
So we used to have bean fights in the school all the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or I don't know if you guys do that. If the teacher was late to get into class, we grab all the chalk and we go down the hall to the next class, open the door, and just rip the shit out of the place with chalk, right? And but it wasn't a ladybug, so I guess we got away with it. But a teacher said to me one time, "You got to stay after class." I go, "Why?" "Well, Johnny over here said you hit him in the ear with a bean." I said, "Well, that kid I know I didn't shoot at, right?"
Mm-hmm.
And well, somebody hit him with a bean. Well, it wasn't me. Well, he thinks it's you. And so you got to stay after class. Why? Well, for detention. And I was only like, that's probably grade 6.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "I don't think you understand this. School's out at such and such a time. Okay? Now, if you want to give me a detention during school hours, that's fine. But I got other things to do. Mm-hmm. And you have no authority whatsoever to hold me against my will in your school after school's out."
Yeah.
"Well, yeah, but I'm the teacher." "Well, if you want to stay for the detention, you stay for the detention. But I ain't going to be here." "Well, you have to." No. And I left. Now, you can't do shit like that either now. In other words, you can't stand up for yourself. You always got to bow down to this horse shit. Mm-hmm. And I don't understand that, because what's going through your freaking mind when you're sitting there in front of this principal, vice principal, and they're very angry that you chucked a ladybug at somebody? You not just say to these guys, like, "Are you mentally ill?" Right? Are you a 4-year-old child? Right?
Well, I don't know. It's just funny. You can't, like, there's nothing you can get away with.
Yeah, but they are the ones that are getting away with it, right? You're allowing them to get away with it.
Exactly.
You, not the kids, not the kids are the problem, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you have two, I don't know how old your principals are, 35, 40, whatever, sitting there giving you a hard time for throwing a ladybug at somebody. Like, I know where I'd be at. I said, like, you know, you guys all right? Do you know what a ladybug is? Do you know what a ladybug weighs? Do you know how many people can you, because we're always on data in the school now, data says this, data says that. Could you show me some data that shows that throwing a ladybug at somebody is dangerous? And I want to see the data, how many people have been injured by ladybugs. Because otherwise, you're just blowing it out your ass.
That'd be David Suzuki could tell you.
I can't wait for that son of a bitch to kick off.
He's a bug scientist.
Yeah, here's Mr. Global Warming. He studied. I don't know if they taught you about David Suzuki in school or not, Christian, but the man's a complete fucking lunatic, right? Here's a guy who did his field of study was fruit flies. I don't know if these are transgendered fruit flies, because you can't really call somebody a fruit, right? Mm-hmm. So he studied fruit flies. He actually had a cot in the university, so he would stay there all the time to study his fruit flies. Meanwhile, he's got a wife and a couple of kids at home, and his wife says, "Yo, David, you coming home or what?" "I'm studying fruit flies, darling." "But you got a family, David." And eventually his wife, this is a true story, eventually his wife says, "David, you're going to have to make a choice. Either your stupid fruit flies or your family." And Suzuki picks the fruit flies. Okay, and this is the guy that they put up in front of you. "Oh, David says global warming is real." David also hates white people. Because David...
And you notice he's not white himself?
What?
You notice he's not white himself?
No. And he got all caught up in this civil rights movements in the States in the 60s. And he said, you know, by the time he got out of the civil rights, every time he saw a white person, he wanted to punch him. Right?
Bring it on.
Yeah, you little twerp. So this is the guy they put up as this great Canadian scientist. The guy's he's mentally retarded.
You watched him as a kid, so did I.
Yes, I did, and I got sucked.
You loved him. The nature of things.
Well, it wasn't till they did that what they call it, the naked ape thing, right?
Yeah.
Started to question it because I love nature. I mean, I love being out in the bush. I love being out in a river or lake, right? And so I like nature. So this show the nature of things. I got to see nature, but it wasn't until later that I figured out what the hell they're actually pushing. Is that they're not pushing love nature. They're pushing hate man.
Get out of there.
Man's the problem. Hate man. It's the same as Jacques Cousteau. I don't remember that or not, Chris, but Jacques Cousteau, I love that guy because he had that stupid French accent. And they're running around in a boat looking at the fishes and the whales and everything. But then when I read that thing, that Jacques Cousteau said that as nasty as this may sound, we got to kill off 350,000 people a day in order to save the planet. Well, these people are lunatics. And these are the people that the schools put forward as the heroes. And the students really need to stand up to this because...
Get Ron. I got to interject here. Ron?
Yeah, interject away.
Okay. Christian, he's a young lad. He thought he was only going to do a half hour with you.
I figured he would too, but I don't care.
But he's getting
antsy.
He understands everything you're saying, but he's getting tired and he wants to go.
Listen, Christian, I put that video in your dad's Skype chat.
Yeah.
Of that young girl. Mm-hmm. And I'd really like you to look at it, think about it, and because it seems to me that the main hook they got on you guys is this global warming nonsense, from what we've been talking about, and that all the students just automatically believe it. And I'd like you to take a look at it, and if it makes any sense to you, I would really like you to pass it around to some of your friends and that. And what I'd like to do is you give Chris your principal's email address, and I'll send it to the principal with a picture of a ladybug. No, I better not do that, because they'll go, Christian, get in the office. Now I know where this damn video came from. It's a wonder you didn't make front page news down in Kingston, eh?
Yeah.
Student throws ladybug. Film at 11. Anyways, I really appreciate you coming on, Christian, and I it's got to be tough, buddy. It's got to be tough to put up with what you guys.
He's a tough lad, Ron.
Yeah, I know he sounds really solid, and I think he's far less afraid than when I'm talking to Christian and I'm trying to visualize the rest of the school body, and I'm thinking this must be a horrible place to be hanging out in. The tension's coming from everywhere. You got the race tension, you got the bullying tension, you got no touch tension, you got the global warming tension, you got the transgender tension. Holy shit.
Neutral bathrooms.
I got to be a very pleasant place to hang out at.
Yeah, no, it's.
So you know what? Can you read?
Can I read? I can read.
I'm surprised. I didn't even know that.
Here's my question though. You can read, you can write.
Yeah.
And you know how to do math.
Yes.
Then the best thing you do to my friend, because you sound like a solid kid, is get on with your life. Because the longer you're stuck in that place, the more they're gonna suck you dry. Like,
well, I'm gonna make sure he gets his.
I went to school, took a 5-year course in high school because my plan was that I would have liked to have been an architect or electrical engineer. I talked to a friend between grade 10 and 11 who's not going to go back to grade 11. I spent the whole summer talking him into going back to school. Just get your grade 12, get the hell out of here, right? And at the end of the year, at the end of the summer, he said, all right, I'll go back. Well, we went back to school, and about a month into grade 11, I'm looking around and I'm thinking, what they're trying to do is take my mind away from me. And they ain't getting it, because I own it. And then it dawned on me that everything is written down. You can learn anything you want to learn 100 times faster than you would ever have a chance of learning it in the education system.
Mm-hmm.
True story.
So, my advice is get on with your life, I vacated school at the age of 16. I'm not telling you to quit school.
Now, Ron, I'm going to tell you though,
what?
I'm not going to allow him to do that.
No, I'm not advocating.
He's going to get his high school education certificate just in case. And he's going to do it.
I've never filled out a resume.
I don't want it.
You have to fill out a resume. I say I don't do resumes. Who's doing the hiring? That's who I'm talking to. I don't play this stupid game, right? You get me the guy or the gal that's doing the hiring. We'll sit down and we'll chat. And I have never needed one, never used one, don't ever intend to use one, and I never needed one because the rest of the planets run around. Oh, I have a resume, right? Well, you and everybody else have got a resume. So what, right? My attitude when I hire people is I don't care if you got 400 degrees out of university. The question is, can you do the job? Right? I don't care what your education is. Can you do the job? Now, I understand from your dad's side, Well, that's not how the general thing works, right? But what I'm saying is basically, if you're going to sit in school, then sit there because you ain't going to learn nothing there of any use. But take your time and use that to whatever you're interested in when you're not in school, or even when you are in school, because you're not teaching nothing anyways, is concentrate on that and read everything you can on that, right? In other words, self-educate. Because the school system is not there to educate you.
Ron, you're correct on everything you just said. Christian really wants to go now. So if you have one final question for him.
I don't. All I want to say to Christian is thank you so much for doing this. You said some stuff that just blew me away. And it gave me a better picture of actually what's going on in the schools, and that I really appreciate. So you have yourself a banger day, and keep your head up, keep learning, and you'll do fine.
Well, thanks for having me, Ron. It was
thanks for doing it, bud.
See you later.
Okay, have a great day.
You too.
So obviously that's not your kid, right, Chris?
No. I think my wife had an affair.
That's a good kid, man. That's a good kid.
Well, Ron, like I said, it's like, what we try to do is to educate the younger generation, because we're not going to live forever, obviously, and
well, they're waiting for us to die off.
We don't instill some intelligence into them to understand what's going wrong with the system, then we're totally screwed.
Well, we're the guilty party, actually.
No, we're not.
Yeah, we are.
No, we're not. We're trying to wake them up.
Well, I know, but we're not engaged the way we should be engaged.
Well,
I mean, I still can't. How the hell? What? I mean, your wife gets a call. Hello, is this Christian's mother? Yes. Well, this is the principal. Yeah, what's up? Well, we're really upset about this, ma'am. What? Fight? What? No, not a fight. Worse than a damn fight. What the hell did he do? Well, are you sitting down? I don't need to sit down. I stand up. Well, sit down. Because this is big stuff. What the hell happened? He threw a ladybug at someone, ma'am. Now, where does the mother go from there? Like, what are you people, stunned? You called me to tell me that my son threw a ladybug at somebody. Yeah. And this is important somehow? I mean, this is beyond ridiculous.
Well, Chris is no longer around to tell you, but I'll tell you on his behalf that somebody stole $20 from Christian.
Yeah.
Christian punched him in the mouth.
Well, that's a good idea.
And then his friend, who Christian, believe it or not, has quite a few friends that are pretty tough.
I wouldn't doubt it.
Whipped a basketball right straight in the face of the guy that stole the $20 from Christian. And it wasn't reported because the victim, I guess if you want to call him that, decided that it might not be a good idea because he has to go back to school with him. Now, I love that stuff, Christian said he stole $20. I punched him in the mouth. And then my buddy said, "You did what?" And threw the basketball at him, smacked him right in the face with it. And yeah, the problem was solved. He got his $20 back.
Well, yeah. But had that got reported,
exactly,
he'd have been out the door.
Oh, right? Yeah.
He would have been in counseling. He would have been in mental health counseling.
But the problem for the so-called victim that stole the $20 is that he realized that Christian and his friends, even being expelled, would be back.
Yeah, are not going to put up with this nonsense. Yeah, so
so here's a lesson to the story. Don't steal.
well, yeah. I mean, I caught a couple of thieves, and I says, like, what are you doing? Like, you're stealing this shit. Well, yeah. Would you like somebody to steal your stuff? No. Then why are you stealing somebody else's stuff? I mean, just think for a half a second, you twit, right? Nobody likes to be stolen from, so don't steal from anybody. But, yeah, I mean, it's nuts, right? See, what the state wants is they want all things dealt with by the state, And the guy goes, well, these guys beat me up and hit me in the head with a basketball. Well, what'd you do that? Well, you stole my $20. Well, yeah, but even so, he stole your $20. You should have come to us and let us handle it. That's what the state's wanting, right? You don't handle anything by yourself. You run to the state, you complain to the state, and the state will deal with it.
That goes back to what I'm talking about, the emasculation of males.
Yeah.
Because, that we're meant to exact justice when justice is deserved.
I think what I'm going to do on that job, if I go back up to that job, I think what I'll do is I'll tell the owner of the house that we need a porta potty in there because they don't have one in there, right? And we just go piss on a tree.
I fired the guy this day.
But no, I'm just going to say I want a gender neutral porta potty on the site, right? Because you never know who's going to have to use it, right? I mean, it's just ludicrous. But your kid's got his head on his he's got his head on straight. But the problem is he's still allowing these idiots, and they are idiots because they were trained to be idiots, to train new idiots, and they got to stand up to this nonsense. Like okay, picture yourself sitting. I know where I'm at, but you picture yourself getting called into the principal's office because you chucked a ladybug at somebody, and these people are being damn serious. I mean, I'd bust out laughing.
Well, my wife.
How could you not laugh? Well, we can't laugh because we'll get in trouble. Well, you're sitting in a principal's office because you got busted for throwing a ladybug at somebody. Hello? That was really weird, man. This is, Christian, Christian really actually opened up really good about the school.
Yep.
I learned a lot today, and it disturbs the hell out of me. Because I talk to the kids when I go up to get a coffee and that, and they're just, we can't do this, we can't do that, we can't do this, we can't do that. But to have Christian explain it, as somebody that's in there, and you get a pretty good picture of what's going on, we got to, it's like I said before, when I was trying to get because I told the town that I wasn't going to pay, I want my taxes readjusted because I ain't paying for this shit. Okay, you're forcing me to pay for kids being reprimanded for checking ladybugs, or they can't touch each other, and they got to bow down to everything, and you're forcing me to pay for this. I ain't paying for it because it's a clinical case of mental child abuse. And I can't be part and parcel of this, right? Well, then I end up with a whole lot of police here and there. Because it's the old silence is consent. And we have to stop consenting. We have to all build those things that I put that Christian sent me, that picture of, which I think is a clothesline platform, but it kind of looks like a gallows. And I really do think that we need to start.
Half an hour, Ron.
Well, one easy way to get to these clowns that are in the councils and that who think that they're isolated from us, and we don't get it. I do think that get pictures of them and build an effigy and stick the picture on damn thing and hang it from a tree all over town, then they got to go, don't like this, right? I don't think there's any rule that I can't hang an effigy because it's not real, it's fictional. Because we really got to get on these guys. Can you imagine being a principal?
I mean, like what Christian sent you was meant for politicians at this point only.
Well, that's what I did. That's what I wrote in there.
Yeah,
and
I know.
I figured it was about the politicians. Yeah, so I wrote about the politicians that, we don't want them hanging around in their neighborhoods, literally, because they get smelly and they make the neighborhood look bad. But, no, we have, there was a lot of good comments in here about Christian today, and I'm really appreciative of that. Because I was trying to do is show that we're the link's been busted. The links have all been busted.
Why do we do what we do?
Why do we do what we do?
Yeah.
Because we can't get a regular job anywhere.
No, I know.
No,
but other than that,
we do what we do because it has to be done.
We do it for our children because I don't think you and I have enough time. I don't think Hal, Charlie, Jules, and many other good people. Clint. Oh, by the way, we should mention, I believe Clint is coming alive today at 5:00.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Congratulations. Is that true? Jules is in the chat here. Is that true that Clint is doing a live show at 5? Somebody can say yes or no or whatever. That would be fantastic.
But anyway, so we do this. We do this for our children. Isn't that why we're doing what we do? So I'm
doing it for the first people that landed on these shores, and everybody since, because it's all connected, and they're breaking all the connections. I mean, when they want to, if John A. MacDonald resided in and I don't like to use the word resided, but resided in Kingston or lived in Kingston, and he's the first prime minister of his country, and they have John A. MacDonald School, and the teachers, it's the teachers, nobody else, the teachers who are the ones that are pushing the globalist agendas to the students, want to remove the history of the first prime minister of this country because they say he was racist, then that points a finger pretty hard at the teachers. The teachers taught, the history of John A. MacDonald and this. I remember all this stuff when I was a kid, and now all of a sudden, he was a racist. We got to get him out of here. Why do we got to get him out of here? Because we're flooding the country, right? We're flooding the country with immigrants that really ought not to be here. They got nothing to do with the country. They know nothing about the country. They know nothing about the lifestyle of the Europeans. Now, we're not being flooded by Europeans. We're being flooded by everything but Europeans. And North America is a European area. So now you have the teachers calling the first, you threw a ladybug at somebody, you're in trouble. The first prime minister of this country say the teachers was a racist, therefore we're going to eradicate the history of this guy. Now, which is more dangerous, that or throwing a ladybug at somebody? When your teachers are pushing for revisionist history, we got a problem. When I saw that kid get thrown out of a school because he was wearing a Confederate belt buckle, I got a problem. Because I know damn well if he had a hijab belt buckle on, there'd been no problem. If he had a turban belt buckle, there'd be no problem, right? If he had the hammer and sickle belt buckle, there'd be no problem. But because he was wearing a Confederate belt buckle, you're out of here. And I don't know what it takes for people to understand what's going on. One of the best things I ever heard was that reporter down in Texas, and went to the school of the 50th anniversary of Kennedy's assassination. Couldn't find anybody in that university that knew Kennedy had been assassinated. And it blew the reporter away. Because, see, he's not in that school. He's not privy to what's being taught in that school. The linkages are broken. In the old days, if the family, the way the history used to come down and it was still intact, those kids in that university would have known Kennedy was assassinated. But what's the school do? They revise the history, and the students in the university say, "Really? We didn't know that. All we heard about Kennedy was he died in office. That's it. History erased." And that's dangerous. Damn dangerous. Because then they bring in the new history, which is the eradication of you white dudes and gals, right? And once you lose your history, you've lost your heritage, which is what they did to the native people. I mean, it's not hard to visualize. I mean, look at what they did to the native people. What they did to those native people, they're using the exact same template on us now. At least the natives fought back. Even though they were outgunned, they fought back. And we're not doing diddly squat about it. And that has to change. It has to change very quickly. And we got to get the guys to step up to the plate. Because my data shows that to date, it's the women that are being the strongest force trying to move this thing forward. And we're waiting for the guys to jump up to the plate here. Step it up. Get in the face, and always, and I mean always, I don't care who you offend. You say what you mean, and you mean what you say. Period. And if somebody isn't, I feel uncomfortable, then fine, walk away. Because I will always say what I mean and mean what I say, and I don't give a damn if it upsets you or not, because you need to be upset. That'll sharpen you up a little bit. So, no, I got to tell you, Chris, that was one of my favorite shows I've ever done today.
He's a good kid, Ron.
Well, he gave me a better view, the inside view of what's going on in the school system. And anybody listening to this program, if you don't understand what a 60, I mean, he wasn't whining and complaining, right? He's just saying as it is. And anybody with any sense of intelligence is going, this is bad, wrong. Okay, and that's our responsibility. You pay for this school system, your taxes, out of your pocket, out of your labor, paying for this nonsense, which makes us responsible for what's going on in the school system. And we're out of time. That went really quick. I want to thank everybody for listening. I'm really big thank you for listening on today. Thank you, Chris, for getting that all the
selling lies and buying time, killing people next in line, lower classes, social slime, they don't matter, genocide, sick from water, sick from air, making money, they don't care, Caesar shit, force of air, fuck them back, it's only for they bomb, they shoot, they kill, they massacre, rape, they burn the kids, no one makes gun, trees, lie to your face.